Hey, hey, what's up?
Hey, I'm good.
Are
How are
you?
you?
I'm good, man. Did you work off the
Wow.
nerves?
No.
No, it's cool. It's cool. It'll be a very light-hearted conversation. I mean, it's also easier
Okay,
because I'm not a
cool.
stranger, so
Yeah.
we'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Okay, dope.
But how are you feeling though? How are you?
I'm okay. I'm well. I'm feeling quite nervous for this chat because this is like, I don't know, I feel very exposed and like vulnerable. But but we are here, so
Mm,
yeah. And thank you guys for having me.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Just to explain the conversations here are meant to shed light on the industry and just expose what is being happening right now, because there's a lot of changes and a lot of things happening. So it's important for us to have these conversations, especially as creatives, because not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people understand what goes into the work and what makes things what they are. So that's basically the gist of the conversation. Please introduce yourself, man. What do you do? Who are you? And yeah.
Okay, cool. My name is Didintle Ntshudisane. I'm a 25-year-old little peanut. I I primarily work as a stylist, but I
Mm.
also do creative direction. I'm still quite a baby in that medium of expression. And yeah, I guess that's me in a
Yeah,
nutshell. I don't
yeah,
know what else to say.
yeah. So because styling is your predominant work, right? So
hmm
what do you do as a stylist? What goes into styling? Because people think it's just as simple as dressing someone up, right? So what is
Yeah.
it exactly that you do?
So, as a stylist, right, I'm gonna put it in a scenario where I am called to work on I don't know, let's
Yeah.
say a TV commercial of stills or video or whatever.
Mm, mm,
I get brought in as a stylist and I get briefed on what the project or campaign is about, and then I then have to interpret the story they're trying to tell through clothing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and then I come up with how I see the story visually through clothes, and then I put together a like a mood board kind of situation, and then I present it to the client and the agency that has called me or the production company, and
Yeah.
then yeah, from there on it goes through series of like approval and then going into sourcing actuals of the clothes requested for the shoots, and then going into production and coming up with looks for like the different characters who are involved in the projects that's happening, and then going into post productions where I then do my recons of like how I spent the money I was given at pre-production, the budget
Mm,
that was given for me to style. And then yeah, I think that's just like the sum of what I do as a stylist. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So it seems like styling goes hand in hand with trend forecasting, right? Because you obviously have
Yeah.
to know what you want your people to look like and what the story is essentially, right? So
Yes, yes.
so being in South Africa, what have you seen as a trend and as as a subculture, especially in fashion, because we a lot of people in the advertising industry speak of brownies, speak of this, speak of that, but we don't actually know how brownies look, and we don't actually know what defines the South African youth per se. You know what I mean? Yeah. So just from your observation, what do they look like?
So I think Brahmis, as they put it, are quite a diverse group of people. It's not, I don't think when you explain what Brahmis are, you just say Brahmis. You know, there's so many different style tribes within that community. You know, it's not just like one dimensional way. This is what like Brahm girls look like or what Brahm guys look like. So within that community, you see emergence of like the roadman, which is another word for like the tracksuit mafia. You see drillers, you know, which emerged from like the drill music in Chicago. But also like like South African like youth have like that ways of like taking those like international style tribes but interpreting them in their own way and what feels more connected to them. You also see the cowboy trend coming up, which I really like. It's like so dope. So yeah, I really enjoy the diverseness of like that community, that Brahm community is such a diverse and like really dope community of like showing different style tribes and like subcultures. So yeah, those are like the ones I've been seeing like emerge year after year.
Within saying that, is there something that is solely South African, something that is purely born in South Africa, that is in the streets? Because from what you said, a lot of the style tribes and a lot of the subcultures are influenced by what is happening overseas, right? Like the drill music, the grime and all of that. So is it something that is born in South Africa and is appreciated? Because I can think of a lot of other subcultures and style tribes that weren't really appreciated. So what have you seen on your side?
You know, even though we take a lot from like international like style tribes, I feel like we don't see them as they emerge in South. We don't take notice of them because I think I wrote like an article 2 years ago where I was basically talking about the emergence of like grime in South Africa where I saw it pop off first. I mean, I saw it a lot within the colored community where they wore like all Nike tracksuits and like Air Maxes, and that was like way back, when I was like really young, you know. So like I don't think we see these trends happen, and then they get like a stamp of approval internationally. Once they happen internationally, it's like, oh, okay, dope. This is like something that we then take on. I don't think we appreciate our subcultures coming from our people and our communities. And I think that's where the problem is, where we look, it's like, okay, not for me. As soon as they happen, it's like, okay, shit, that's kind of dope. So, I mean, even for me, like, Tracksuit Mafia is not something that I only took notice of within, like, the grime UK scene. I've been seeing it happen, like I said, within the colored community, with like taxi drivers. So yeah, that's one of the trends where I feel like there was an emergence of its own in South Africa, but we weren't paying attention to where it was coming from and the rise of it within our country and the youth culture.
So why do you think that happens? Why do you think South African people or consumers are not quick to jump on what South African people make?
I think I don't know. I think we always need some sort of like stamp of approval, like to say that okay, if
this is
Skepta is like wearing tracksuits and Air Maxes, then yeah, it's approved. If Michael or whoever was wearing it in the hood is like he's too excessive. Like, how do you wear like Nike from like head to toe? Like, that's too much. But as soon as someone else who we look up to wears it, then it's like, okay. Michael might have been onto something. So so I think it's I don't want to say insecurity, but because we know that we have the thing, you know, we have the sauce and the juice, but maybe we're just like a bit scared to like see ourselves as like trend setters, as like I don't know, as having voices within like these cultures and like style tribes and like the trend forecasting community. And we do. I mean, you look at like when you read like forecasts and like things on like WGSN where we get like mentioned as a country, and you're like, we actually really dope. If we could just take ourselves as seriously as the world is like taking us and looking to us, then yeah.
Okay, that's dope, man. Moving to the COVID-19 situation, right? It's obviously something that we can't avoid, and this is a conversation that we need to have, especially in the fashion industry, because we're also moving into self-preservation and preserving the earth and taking care of what's happening, right? So I wanted to find out from you, what was the industry like, the fashion industry like before COVID-19? Before everything happened, what was it like and what was the situation there? So we can move on to what's happening.
To be quite honest, I think already as an industry, the fashion industry was like financially and economically challenged before COVID-19. And then COVID-19 came, and then it was like now kind of like making things even harder than they were before. It wasn't like COVID-19 came and before pre-COVID-19, like things were like flowing like smoothly. Like there were already like retrenchments happening with like big groups like Edcon and things like that. So it has been quite a very challenged industry where we're trying to find new ways to move forward and find new ways to communicate. You saw like publications like closing down, and I don't think they only happened because of, I mean, COVID played quite a huge role in
it just sped up the
those
process,
kind of
basically.
events. Yes, but they were like battling before, like so it wasn't like an easy. Now getting into COVID-19, we were quite also like overburdened by what was happening. So yeah, it wasn't, I think outside externally we're seeing like kind of beautiful things happening, like our designers being recognized internationally and getting like nods and all those things, but business wise I don't think we were doing that great. And I hope that kind of moving forward, we find new ways of carving a new system of the industry, and fix the faults and just start afresh. It's not going to be easy. It's definitely a long way to go, but we are here now, and yeah.
Speaking of faults, what did you see like happening in the industry? What was wrong with it from your perspective?
For me personally, it was, the thing was like already as an industry, it's like a very wasteful industry, whereas we see like things like fast fashion and all of that, and even with like other small brands like emerging, I think they were adapting into like a trend kind of like mindset where it's about what is happening right now, where like there wasn't value put into fashion, where I think we need to go into a shift of like putting value into it, like, and actually creating and making products that will live long, you know, that will live past like the 2 years of like seeing, I don't know, whatever kind of t-shirts happening, and like, okay, yeah, these t-shirts, like I personally would love to wear clothes that live for like 5-10 years, you know, and are not only like trend based. And so yeah, those are the faults that I saw, like fast fashion and like the urge to like constantly make work that is not even to its best like quality and offering to the consumer, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also with that, we've seen a lot of international retailers come into South Africa and also leave at the same time. Um, does this also mean that we are changing our purchasing behaviors as South Africans? And if so, what are we now buying? What is the new thing? And how do we solve this problem of wastage in fashion?
I think the conversation around sustainability of our industry has been happening for quite a long time. But it wasn't like a conversation where it was happening, then there was a plan of action. Like it was just like, okay, we see that there's so much waste that goes into the industry, and we would like to like fix it. But there was no action into actually fixing it, you know. So even with like, I think these like big retailers are also like realizing that, because right now they've been closed for however many months in different countries, and they are sitting with like piles and piles of stock that is essentially going to go to waste, because we are going into like different seasons. So I think now it's like a call for action. Like COVID-19 came and said, okay, I think we like consumers now are more cognizant of like buying products that are like produced sustainably and are not harmful to the environment, because we are literally like top industries that are really harmful to like our earth, you know. So I think, I hope, I don't know if like these big retailers are gonna go into it like immediately. It's quite like a long way to go. But I hope they are really seeing the call of action to like do better. And yeah.
Okay, cool. From what you've seen around the world, obviously, like there's lockdown everywhere, and that obviously changes like behavior and how people are buying things, right? So, what does this mean for the retail industry going forward? Because if lockdown continues until 2023, for argument's sake, that changes everything, right? So, how how does the industry now adapt, and how will it adapt to that change? Yeah, just around the world and just what you've seen.
I think the industry is definitely like drastically changing, and the consumption of like products is also changing. But the answers to how we are going to navigate that as consumers and retailers, as businesses, I think lies ahead. I think there is no set. We know that things are changing, but we don't already have like an existing formula to say that this is how things are going to go from here, because we're still adapting to this new way of life. We are still very uncertain of like the outcome of it and how we are going to move forward. How is it going to be like 3 months from now or a year from now? So the answers lie ahead as we go, because it's very a territory we don't know, we don't understand as yet. We are still trying to figure things out. Like you even see with like how at the beginning of lockdown, like magazines and like photographers were trying to find ways to like produce work through like FaceTime shoots and things. Like we're just really trying to find ways. And it's going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight, because we don't know what we're dealing with. So Yeah.
Yeah, and in the local scene, what do we expect to change in terms of like the fashion houses that we have here in South Africa? What is going to happen? Because we see a lot of them, but we don't actually understand what's happening behind the scenes. So you, as someone that deals with them directly, so what is going to change there?
I think what's going to change is, I mean, I'm not,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this is just looking
Yeah,
from,
for sure.
like in terms of like, kind of like production and like trying to um be an uplifting industry as possibly as we can,
Mm,
and try and like produce locally, find our fabrics locally, and all those things. And also I would really love to see more quality over quantity
yeah.
within like brands that are also like emerging and coming. Like we really need to move away from days and times of literally just creating clothes for hype. Like, people want long lasting,
Mm,
functionable clothing. And yeah, like the structures of that industry kind of like changing, and like
mm,
utilizing like our local talent of like seamstresses and tailors, and finding ways to like source our fabrics like locally, because right now I think post COVID-19 we need quite an intense like financial injection in the industry.
mm,
So we are kind of forced for it to live and become a functionable industry again. We are forced to like give into our local production and everything.
yeah.
So I would really, really love to see more of like brands that prioritize quality over just making clothes for drip, because
Yes.
yeah.
Speaking of quality, there was a conversation like I think a few months ago on Twitter, involving a certain stylist with a certain designer. I can't mention the name,
Yeah.
but the conversation was basically around the quality and why South African designers, the streetwear designers, can't produce quality. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I really like I've been saying, like it's more about drip than it's about quality. Like I see that a lot, and that's like my biggest frustrations. I'm sure I've had like this conversation with so many other people.
Mm,
Like every time, just like, guys, can we also bear in mind that when you make clothing, form, like that's the number one design principle. They need to be functionable. Like you can't. it's it's such a
mm,
tricky conversation, and I feel like when people are trying to that constructive criticism, then they see it as like jabs or like hating, and it's not. Even we are
yeah,
trying to progress as an industry, and as a country, trying to like build a sustainable and a present fashion industry. So like like they really need to look into creating like quality clothing with fabrics that are ideal for like our weather conditions and the climate and all those things. Like, not
yeah,
just make clothing for drip. Like, if I can't function in something that you made, because streetwear is everyday wear, right? If
mm,
you
mm.
make something out of I don't know, like, I don't want to sound shady, so I'm not gonna say it. um Make functionable clothing that people can wear and feel comfortable
Yeah,
throughout however many hours they are wearing in a day, and clothing that live long and sustainably produced,
Mm.
you know?
Mm.
Yeah,
Because obviously sustainability is a big thing now, and we have to
very.
carry on that mentality throughout each and every single thing that we do. Cool.
Mm.
So let's speak about Folktale. You are one part of Folktale, one quarter of Folktale. So what is Folktale actually, for the people that don't know?
So, Folktale is a kind of like a creative problem-solving agency that back. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. So I was explaining what Folktale is. Folktale is a creative solving agency that was established in 2019 by four really amazing creative minds
Mm.
that kind of felt the need to tell untold stories and give a voice to the voiceless.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's essentially in a nutshell what Folktale is. And I serve as one of the creative
Mm.
directors. And yeah.
Okay, cool. So, your role as a creative director, what do you do? Like, what is your day to day, and how do you contribute to that agency? Because a lot of people give themselves titles and they don't understand what the title
Mm,
is. Like, people will say they're art directors when they don't actually know what an art director is. So, just to explain who
yeah.
to
That
the audience what a creative director does.
That's why I've always been so scared to like take on like titles. Like I'm
Mm.
just like I'm gonna be dragged for calling myself a
No,
creative
no, no,
director
no.
without the necessary skills,
Mm.
some would put it. But my job at Folktale is basically essentially coming up with like creative ideas of problems that have been identified
Yeah,
and looking at ways into executing the project.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we are a very small agency, so my day-to-day job is not only just doing creative directing. It's like ranges from like a lot of things, whether it's doing marketing plans or strategies or handling social media and planning content for our pages and all that. So it's not only just um, creative direction.
Yeah.
We are still kind of like getting into the way of like me fully practicing as a creative director within the agency.
Mm.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. And speaking of like creative uh, direction and the industry, how has the industry been for you so far? Like, what are you liking about it, and who are some of your favorite people? I'm putting you on the spot.
Like, nigga. um, the industry has been a very interesting one.
Yeah,
Very, very interesting one. I really kind of like enjoy taking in the energies of like so many incredible like creatives within this industry that come up with the most brilliant campaigns. And I'm
mm,
just like, wow, same sis when I grow up.
mm,
Um, so yeah, it has been like a very interesting. I'm trying to learn about the industry more. I recently joined this masterclass thing where it's like different like industry giants of like different industries like
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
the industry, and I'm absolutely obsessed with like the advertising masterclass I've been watching. My favorites, I can't do that. I don't have like I
You don't
can't.
have a
There's so
favorite?
many. I have favorites, but there's just
Okay.
so many.
Yeah, like who are you
But I'm
enjoying? Who are you enjoying?
Who am I enjoying?
I
Let's
mean, even
see.
on
Let's see. Let
Instagram,
me
like you're like,
think.
oh, okay, this person is cool. This person is dope. This person is that.
It's not. it's not necessarily like a person, but
Okay.
I
It
enjoy
can
like
be a
these
page,
like
it can be a
works of
company.
like, yes, like of like these really dope agencies that have like really dope work out, and like they're just also quite like new agencies, just to see how they are doing, as we
Yeah,
are also just an agency that's like establishing themselves.
yeah,
I definitely love I think it's Think Creative, The Odd Number, really dope. And which there's another one. There's another one. Uh, Chiriasekasi. So yeah, it's like so many. Like I have a brain as small as a peanut. I don't call myself peanut for I forget so easily. But yeah, like people are really doing amazing,
yeah.
amazing work. I love Rendani as an art director,
Yeah,
super
she's
amazing.
amazing. She's amazing.
Um Lerato Mbangeni as a
Of course.
copywriter. So
Montag,
dope. So yeah,
everybody.
so many. Everybody just love, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool, man. Yeah, man, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for taking your time out and to have a conversation with me. It was obviously like nerve-wracking at first, but we got into it and we
I'm
got
still
into it and
nervous. I'm still nervous.
we got into
I'm
it and
shaking.
really like extracted a lot from you. You know, I think it was important for us to have this conversation with you, mainly because of what's happening right now, and there are a lot of other creatives that are in the same boat and without jobs, without this and that. So it's very frustrating times right now in the industry, and
Yeah.
it's also relieving to know that there is someone that is there with you. You know, someone that is
Mm,
going through the same struggle as you are. So it's a good time for solidarity right now. And yeah, man,
yeah.
thank you to you for taking your time out, and good luck with Folktale, man. You know, it's gonna be a crazy ride. It's gonna be a crazy ride.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck with everything. And yeah, shout out to
Thank
you.
you so, so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate everyone who came to listen to me saying whatever I was saying. I don't even know what I was saying.